Hello there, welcome to Fully Painted. In this video we're gonna continue painting my Wood Elf Blood Bowl team. In the last video I showed you how I painted the green spandex as well as some freehand, and we did a detailed tutorial on the skin and the faces. For this third and final installment we're gonna tackle the NMM. I hope you'll like it, so grab your brushes, we're going to the lab. So let's start this NMM tutorial with this simple shape of the football. So I start on a very dark base, as you can see, and then I do my first highlights with a lighter brown. It's mostly following the logic I applied on the skin, on the tutorial of the skin. That is, I apply it on the top of the football because that's the one that's being hit by the light. Then I put some green at the bottom for some reflection attempt, I guess. And as you can see, I did the edge highlight as well with my first brown. And then I start doing my proper highlights per se to bring out the reflective aspect of the material. And I keep doing my edge highlights, as you can see here. This time I focus them on the top part, and I try to follow the initial highlight I put on the leather of the football. Since this is mostly a cylinder, the main highlight should be a single line. And then for some interest, I add a secondary reflection on the side, which is probably less realistic, but more pleasing to look at. Right now, it's the same color as the initial highlight, but then I'm gonna push the main initial highlight a bit higher. That's the logic I'm trying to follow. I'm keeping this highlight not only contained and lined up to the leather highlight, but also on a smaller surface than my very first light brown highlight, basically. That's the logic I'm gonna follow. I push the highlight a bit on both of the highlights right now, push the value, sorry, I should say. I keep doing edge highlights because this is very important for the look of metals. Their edges are very lit. And then, as you can see here, I hit the bottom as well. I try to have it diagonally facing the main highlight. So there is some logic to my highlight placement. And now we get to the final highlight color, which is almost pure white, and that I reserve for this main highlight. I do one line in the middle, and then the edge highlights near it to get a more shiny effect. And that's how it looks. Now I'm gonna try and replicate this on a more complex shape. That entails the shoulder pads that you can see here on my lineman, their masks, and the belts that they have, which has very intricate symbols and filigrams of, I don't know how you call these, but an embellishment, I would say, I guess. So this is the first layer of contrast paint. I specifically chose contrast here and not a more opaque paint because I wanted the transparency property of the contrast. The idea here is that I hoped it would let some of the green show through from the spandex layer, just to add some reflection to my metallics. Have to be very precise here, the application, because of the mask. And now we go with the first highlight, just like I did for the ball. And the logic here is to just hit everything that's being touched by the light. If you saw my skin video, I basically look at the mini, decide where the sun is hitting it, and then hit all the surfaces that are perpendicular to the sun, basically. And I don't just do that, but I also hit the lower edges, the edges of the surfaces that are facing the ground, to add a bit of reflection, so that the darker areas of the miniature are the areas in between those two. The idea here is that, contrary to what I did for the skin, here the areas that are parallel to the light rays are the darkest ones. And that's mostly because of the reflectiveness of the surface. That's the logic I'm trying to follow anyway. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this was my second ever attempt at NMM at the time. And so I watched a ton of tutorials, and this is basically me trying to apply those tutorials on here and just telling you the lessons I learned through this. Now we get onto the belt, which, as complex a shape it is, it wasn't too hard to paint the NMM for it, because it's a lot of curves, and I just tried to follow the logic I told you about when painting hair, which is hitting basically the parts of those curves that are concave or convex when they are directly facing the light. And now it's onto the shoulder pads, which were, to be honest, the hardest parts of those miniatures to paint. Those are very complex shapes with big surfaces, and somehow it made those quite harder to paint for me, or to find the placement of the highlights and the various colors. You can see I keep doing some edge highlights. I tried to use the shininess of the previous paint to my advantage here. So I put it under my desk lamp, and that somehow tells me where I should put my highlights, or this color at least, which, yeah, I guess it's my first highlight, or mid-tone, I guess. But yeah, you can see I do a lot of edge highlighting with it. And I hit bottom edges as well. For the backside of this NMM, I cheated a bit by having another light source painted as if there was one in the back and not just a single one on the front. And now we get to the fun bit of the painting the NMM, and that's the first big jump in color. Well, the second big jump in color. Using my first near white, you can see there is a massive jump in value between not only my shadow color and my sort of mid-tone, but also my mid-tone and my first highlight per se. And this is what makes it read as metal, the surface read as metal, as mentioned. Light placement and volume placement is important, but the jump in contrast is probably one of the most important bits to painting metal. So right now I'm hitting edges again, but those that are hit by the sun, I won't hit bottom edges with this color yet at all. And I'm following the concave convex curve logic I mentioned. And as you can see, just this first layer, first highlight, I would say, is making a big difference. We're only on our third color right now for the painting this NMM. It already looks like metal, which is insanely satisfying when you do it. The mid-tone color you need to have confidence when painting this mid-tone color, because sometimes you're like, where am I placing my colors? I'm not sure about this, etc. But this, when you jump to this bit, it all comes together. And that's where you get your first you look at a metal effect, which is very satisfying. Another big important aspect of this painting is that I make sure that all my highlights line up correctly all together, and so that they make it seem that like I have a single light source, coherent light source. I need to make them coherent is the word I was looking for. But yeah, if you have like a few shapes that make it look like some highlighted coming from the left side, and then others that are near the first spaces, that make it seem like they are being hit by a source on the other side, like a right side or whatever, it's gonna make it look weird and less coherent, less realistic as well, because I'm trying to make sure that like my mini is being lit from mostly a single spot or coherent light source. Of course, ditch what I said when you get to the back. I'm having to light the back because I need my miniature, which is a gaming piece, to be interesting to look at the back as well. So I'm not gonna push the highlight as near as high as I will do with the front, but still try to make it interesting. I'm not sure I have achieved the coherency of my light placement on the back here, because some, as you can see on the top of the shoulder pad, looks like it's being hit by on the left side, from the left side, sorry, and the other one, the belt, looks like it's being hit on the right side. So there's a bit of dissonance here, which is not good. But since the front is looking good, it's okay, I guess. You can make mistakes with this. And I add a bit of reflection here with my green. And now we get to the final highlight color, which is near white. And I try to reserve it to the mask and the shoulder pads here. I hit the belt, but just the tippy top of the belt. And yeah, shoulder as well. But yeah, that's mostly it for this NMM. I hope this explanation was useful. Now for the base, let's get a small palette cleanser. Let's do something simple. First coat of brown to do the mud, then I glue some tufts on it, and now I shade my tufts. Fairly important to shade your tufts because it makes them look way more realistic, because everything on your mini is painted. Why not paint the tuft as well? This is a very simple painting, just shade. And then, as you can see later on, I'm gonna dry brush it. Yeah, here. I just dry brush the front to enhance the light direction I chose initially, and somewhat make it look like the miniature is projecting some shadow on the backside. And then I do my line with a thick paint. It's a light gray, it's not white at all. That would be too stark, even though it is stark here. And then I do the line to remind you of the field of play. And here is the look of the team. I'm really pleased with this team. As I mentioned during the series, it won me a few awards. Not super high competition, but still competition nonetheless, which made me super proud. I'm quite happy with the NMM here. For a second attempt, I think it looks really good, especially on the masks and the belts. I feel like the shoulders could use some more work. mostly placement corrections. But I'm really happy with the belts, as you can see here, and the balls that the throwers are using. It looks really good. Here you have a better look at the belt ornaments. And I feel like for such a small surface, it wasn't that hard to achieve this shiny surface look. So I was really proud of this. And here you have it on more simple surfaces, the pearls in the hair of the warden, sir. This is very similar to what I did for the football, if you must know. But that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give it a like, and if you have any question, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. But that's also the end of this painting series. It was quite high level, technical and detailed, so I hope you enjoyed it. The next one should be a bit simpler, so if you don't want to miss it, please consider subscribing. But in the meantime, I have an appointment with Nuffle, so until then I hope you stay adventurous and that you keep painting, because painting is cool.